The Tanakh or Mikra is the canon of the Hebrew Bible. The traditional Hebrew text is known as the Masoretic text. Tanakh is an acronym of the first Hebrew letter of each of the Masoretic text's three traditional subdivisions: Torah, Nevi'im and Ketuvim, hence Tanakh. The name, Mikra, meaning, that which is read, is another Hebrew word for the Tanakh. The books of the Tanakh were passed on by each generation, and according to rabbinic tradition were accompanied by an oral tradition, called the Oral Torah. Terminology. The three-part division reflected in the acronym Tanakh is well attested in literature of the rabbinic period. During that period, however, Tanakh was not used. Instead, the proper title was Mikra because the biblical texts were read publicly. Mikra continues to be used in Hebrew to this day, alongside Tanakh, to refer to the Hebrew scriptures. In modern spoken Hebrew, they are interchangeable. Development and codification. There is no scholarly consensus as to when the Hebrew Bible canon was fixed. Some scholars argue that it was fixed by the Hasmonean dynasty, while others argue it was not fixed until the 2nd century CE or even later. According to the Talmud, much of the contents of the Tanakh was compiled by the men of the Great Assembly, a task completed in 450 BCE, and has remained unchanged since that date. Formal closure of the canon has often been ascribed to Rabbinic Judaism after the destruction of the First Temple in 587 BCE. The 24-book canon is mentioned in the Midrash Koheleth 12:12. Language and pronunciation. The original writing system of the Hebrew text was an abjad, consonants written with some applied vowel letters. During the early Middle Ages, scholars known as the Masortes created a single formalized system of vocalization. This was chiefly done by Aaron ben Moses ben Asher, in the Tiberias school, based on the oral tradition for reading the Tanakh. Hence the name Tiberians vocalization. It also included some innovations of Ben Naphtali and the Babylonian exiles. Despite the comparatively late process of codification, some traditional sources and some Orthodox Jews hold the pronunciation and cantillation to derive from the revelation at Sinai. Since it is impossible to read the original text without pronunciations and cantillation pauses, the combination of a text, pronunciation and cantillation enable the reader to understand both the simple meaning and the nuances in sentence flow of the text. Books of the Tanakh. The Tanakh consists of 24 books. It counts as one book each: Samuel, Kings, Chronicles and Ezra, Nehemiah, and counts Triasar as a single book. Torah. The Torah consists of 5 books, commonly referred to as the 5 books of Moses. Printed versions of the Torah are often called Chumash or Chum's High Torah, and informally a Chumash. In Hebrew, the 5 books of the Torah are identified by the first prominent word in each book: Bereshit, Genesis; Shemot, Exodus; Vayikra, Leviticus; Bamidbar, Numbers; Devarim, of Deuteronomy. Nevi'im. Nevi'im is the second main division of the Hebrew Bible, between the Torah and Ketuvim. It contains 2 subgroups, the former prophets and the latter prophets. This division includes the books which cover the time from the entrance of the Israelites into the land of Israel until the Babylonian captivity of Judah. Their distribution is not chronological, but substantive. Joshua, Judges, Samuel, Kings, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. The 12 minor prophets considered as one book in Judaism: Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Ketuvim. Ketuvim consists of 11 books, described below. The poetic books in Masoretic manuscripts, Psalms, Proverbs and Job, are presented in a special 2-column form, emphasizing the parallel sticks in the verses, which are a function of their poetry. Collectively, these 3 books are known as Sifrei Emet. These 3 books are also the only ones in Tanakh with a special system of cantillation notes that are designed to emphasize parallel sticks within verses. However, the beginning and end of the Book of Job are in the normal prose system. The 5 scrolls, the 5 relatively short books of the Song of Songs, the Book of Ruth, the Book of Lamentations, Ecclesiastes and the Book of Esther are collectively known as the Hamesh Megillot. These are the latest books collected and designated as authoritative in the Jewish canon, even though they were not complete until the 2nd century CE. These scrolls are traditionally read over the course of the year in many Jewish communities. The list below presents them in the order they are read in the synagogue on holidays, beginning with the Song of Solomon on Passover. Other books besides the 3 poetic books and the 5 scrolls, the remaining books in Ketuvim of Daniel, Ezra, Nehemiah and Chronicles. Although there is no formal grouping for these books in the Jewish tradition, they nevertheless share a number of distinguishing characteristics. Their narratives all openly describe relatively late events. The Talmudist tradition ascribes late authorship to all of them. 2 of them are the only books in Tanakh with significant portions in Aramaic order. The following list presents the books of Ketuvim in the order they appear in most printed editions. It also divides them into 3 subgroups based on the distinctiveness of Sifrei Emet and Hamesh Megillot. The 3 poetic books Tehillim, Mishlai, Iyyobh. The 5 Megillot. These books are read aloud in the synagogue on particular occasions, the occasion listed below in parenthesis. Shir Hashirim or Ruth, Akar, also called Kinnit in Hebrew, Koheleth, Esther. Other books Daniel, Ezra, Divrei HaYamim. The Jewish textual tradition never finalized the order of the books in Ketuvim. The Babylonian Talmud gives their order as Ruth, Psalms, Job, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Lamentations of Jeremiah, Daniel, Scroll of Esther, Ezra, Chronicles. In Tiberian's Masoretic codices, including the Aleppo Codex and the Leningrad Codex, and often in Old Spanish manuscripts as well, the order is Chronicles, Psalms, Job, Proverbs, Ruth, Song of Solomon, Ecclesiastes, Lamentations of Jeremiah, Esther, Daniel, Ezra. Translations. The Holy Scriptures according to the Masoretic text. A new translation with the aid of previous versions and with the constant consultation of Jewish authorities was published in 1917 by the Jewish Publication Society. It was replaced by their Tanakh in 1985. Tanakh, Jewish Publication Society, 1985, ISBN 0-8276-0252-9. Tanakh. The Stone Edition, Hebrew with English translation, Mesera Publications, 1996, ISBN 0-89906-269-5, named after benefactor Irving I. Stone. Tanakh Ram, an ongoing translation to modern Hebrew by Avraham Ahuvar. Jewish commentaries. There are 2 major approaches towards study of, and commentary on, the Tanakh. In the Jewish community, the classical approach is religious study of the Bible, where it is assumed that the Bible is divinely inspired. Another approach is to study the Bible as a human creation. In this approach, biblical studies can be considered as a subfield of religious studies. The later practice, when applied to the Torah, is considered heresy by the Orthodox Jewish community. As such, much modern-day Bible commentary written by non-Orthodox authors is considered forbidden by rabbis teaching in Orthodox yeshivas. Some classical rabbinic commentators, such as Abraham ibn Ezra, Gersonides, and Maimonides, used many elements of contemporary biblical criticism, including their knowledge of history, science, and philology. Their use of historical and scientific analysis of the Bible was considered acceptable by historic Judaism due to the author's faith commitment to the idea that God revealed the Torah to Moses on Mount Sinai. The modern Orthodox Jewish community allows for a wider array of biblical criticism to be used for biblical books outside of the Torah, and a few Orthodox commentaries now incorporate many of the techniques previously found in the academic world, e.g., the DAAT Mikra series. Non-Orthodox Jews, including those affiliated with Conservative Judaism and Reform Judaism, accept both traditional and secular approaches to Bible studies. Jewish Commentaries on the Bible discusses Jewish Tanakh commentaries from the Targums to classical rabbinic literature, the Midrash literature, the classical medieval commentators, and modern-day commentaries.